Most of you have made comments on the Tafe SA problems and the video. Comments like, "Thank you for your insight," "Thanks for saying what many of us are thinking." However, a few of you have suggested that it is all very well to discuss the Tafe SA issues. Anyone can identify problems, but what needs to happen to fix it? And they went on to ask, why am I critical of the review that the state government ordered? Well, to put it into context, you and I both know that enrolments for 2018 are looming. And as the story is developing, we may see many more areas that are affected. The timing isn't great. It is not acceptable for the outcomes of the Tafe SA review to come after classes start next year. The thing is, I don't think we need to wait. There are many people in our industry who know what needs to happen now instead of waiting for the long drawn out, high-priced Tafe SA review or the results of a Senate inquiry. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and without having access to the Tafe SA internal documents. I'm going to talk you through 13 areas of the recommendations and priorities now. So perhaps keep this blog and video handy, and as it plays out, we will all see how accurate it is. And this first video is about the recommendations. Number 1 is to restructure Tafe SA. Removing the chair, who was appointed in 2012, and reviewing board members' positions should have happened a while back. Looking into who is connected to whom, what boards people are on together, who else they are impacting, so should also be a consideration, as well as how have they addressed compliance issues in the past, evidenced by the minutes of meetings and reports. The minutes of meetings and reports for the last 12 months need to be studied, paying particular attention to how people voted and the contributions they made. If the board were just following the chair, then they need to go. If they were not raising concerns or voting in a manner that could have avoided this mess, they are probably not the right fit. A new management structure needs to be designed with clear accountabilities and responsibilities, and with a balance of vet and industry experience. An executive director of innovation supported by a team could incorporate business development, research, and new educational program design and delivery. Governance and quality needs to be aligned with the CFO role or have its own executive director. With a broader range of stakeholders, maybe an advisory group, that's got internal and external people on it, keeping them to account. Into the future, focus areas for educational program directors should mirror South Australia's strengths, economic development priorities and growth areas. And of course, this is going to flow on to a new strategic plan, which leads to recommendation number 2, and it is all about reimagining Tafe SA. After the major problems are fixed, gaining confidence in Tafe SA will take a while, but it is important to show a different approach rather than talk about it. Involve the South Australian community, students and employers on what the brand should look like. In fact, I know a local pizza shop that had to change their name, and they got 200 suggestions plus local, national and international media coverage. Tafe SA could do something similar. Leveraging alumni, promoting and connecting current and past students, especially those who are business leaders, entrepreneurs, Australian apprentices or employers. That would go some way to restoring faith. Marketing clearly needs a shake-up, having made some very basic errors in information provided, for example, about the duration of a course and that not matching the learning and assessment strategy. Now, the reason that I'm suggesting reimagining instead of rebranding, which might come from others, is that rebranding is a really expensive exercise that won't address these non-compliant issues. Every dollar spent on rebranding could be spent on improving services and outcomes. And one area where we need to improve services and outcomes is the regions. So recommendation number 3 is about giving attention, rightful attention to the regions. Related to the restructure, the regions have been long ignored, and each site that remains open needs to closely align and match with economic development priorities and strengths in the region. And to look at how the regions are serviced, well, perhaps we need to look at how TAFE SA could reinvent itself. And recommendation number 4 is that we need to reinvent TAFE SA. You know, South Australia is actually known for being really entrepreneurial and innovative, but this is missing in TAFE SA. So a rapid product development approach using lean startup methods needs to make a better match with what employers and industry are looking for and what's on offer. And this doesn't mean rolling out a digital strategy where learning resources and PDFs are just put up online. It leads to recommendation number 5, which is really about repurposing TAFE SA. You know, there are 10 trading names that TAFE SA currently has that could be made more of, especially where they might align to economic development and workforce priorities. This is something to really think about with reimagining and restructuring, as well as the various centres and sites that TAFE SA has, and its resources. Recommendation number 6 is really about those resources for TAFE SA. You know, I think perhaps an independent stock take of the TAFE SA assets, equipment, facilities, and their utilisation in line with the registered training organisation's scope and training package requirements. It could uncover all sorts of resources which could be repurposed, maybe those needing repair, maintenance, disposal, and sites could be repurposed. This may mean opening up sites to local businesses, entrepreneurs and startups, or co-locating with co-working industry and regional business hubs. On the specific point about learning resources, there could be a far wider issue here, where other registered training organisations across Australia and overseas may have purchased TAFE SA learning and assessment materials identified in ASPA's report as being inadequate. And whilst that might have been a good source for revenue, it really leads to recommendation number 7, which is about revenue for TAFE SA. There has to be questions of sustainability raised because, you know, TAFE SA could be left with just the mandatory training or foundation skills and, you know, maybe apprenticeships depending upon the Senate inquiry outcomes. Agreements, contracts, licensing arrangements, MOUs and partnerships, especially those negotiated internationally, need to be looked at as there seems to be, you know, real issues with who is responsible for what.